Okay, so for my first recording, I think I'll just have a look at one of the latest Prager U videos to have a look at, because I used to be antifa, so this is going to be another I left the left kind of video from Prager U. I'm ThoughtBat, by the way. Hello, I'm quite new here, but anyway, let's go with it. Let's have a look what these idiots got to say. Here we fucking go.
There was a time in my life when I was angry, bitter, and deeply unhappy.
Okay, so we've already got the let's reinforce the stereotype of bitter, angry lefties. Um, okay. Sometimes I got no response to this, but apart from just sort of snigger at it. But yeah, it's one of those videos. Here we fucking go.
I wanted to lash out at the whole fascist system, the greedy, heartless power structure that didn't care about me or the rest of society's innocent victims. A system that had robbed, beaten, and stolen from my ancestors. The whole corrupt edifice deserved to be brought down, reduced to rubble. I was a perfect recruit for Antifa.
Recruit. Something tells me that you had nothing to do with any anti-fascist organisation if you're saying things like "I was a perfect recruit." Antifa is not a organisation which you can just sort of join and become a recruit, like the Proud Boys or anything like that. It's just anti-fascism or anti-fascist action is literally just that. It's the tendency to oppose fascism in any kind of meaningful way, and anti-fascist action is in reference to the many different groups which kind of banded together to disrupt fascist mobilization. The first origins of this was in Nazi Germany, when because you had the black shirts roaming about, and the communists and the anarchists and the socialists kind of united into these little guerrilla bands to sort of disrupt that kind of mobilization. But I don't think this guy knows anything about the history of Antifa. So let's continue.
The left-wing group which claims to fight against fascism. And so, I became a member. Now I was...
What? So you became a member? I'm smelling bullshit already. He's got a fucking dangly badge, looking lovely, with his angry face as well. Imagine that. Imagine signing up to an organisation and then taking that fucking face. I know it's a fucking graphic, but yeah, it's just the way they think the left works is just hilarious.
was one of those who had the guts to fight against the fascists who were exploiting disadvantaged people. I wasn't a card-carrying anti-fascist.
No one
There's
is.
no such thing as an official Antifa
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
membership. But I was ready at a moment's notice to slip on the black mask and march in what Antifa calls the Black Bloc, a cadre of other black-clad Antifa members, to taunt police and destroy property.
Okay, and also to fight the Ku Klux Klan, to fight the Proud Boys, and that kind of stuff. They usually tip up to defend protesters, like Black Lives Matter protesters. They're worried that the Proud Boys will tip up and start trying to cause problems, so they turn up as as a counterforce. You rarely see Antifa starting violent protests. It's just not something they do. Like it would be a stupid thing for them to do as well, because they know that they'll just end up being played out to be the bad guys, like Prager U are desperately trying to do. But I haven't even let this video start, so I'm going to carry on.
Antifa stands for anti-fascist, but that's purposefully deceptive. For one thing,
Purposefully deceptive. Like, I guess I had to. It's your word against mine, dude. But when I say I'm an anti-fascist, I'm not actually saying, well, I'm out here fighting off Catholics. I'm anti-Catholic. Ooh, no, that's not how it works.
the very name is calibrated so that anyone who dares to criticize the group or its tactics can be labeled fascist.
I mean, no. Um, what? So if you had a league of anti-socialists, like, and we say anyone who disagrees with what that organization does is a socialist. No one believes this. No one who has anything to do with any anti-fascist organization acts or thinks this way. And this guy didn't either. He's just been paid to say that this is how he thought. Or maybe he did think like this, and he was just one of the few idiots of the group who would just end up being a conservative anyway.
This allows Antifa to justify violence against all who dare stand up or speak out against them.
It's like fucking whack-a-mole. Oh god. No. Okay.
Few
Okay.
groups boldly declare themselves Antifa, like Rose City Antifa in Portland, but most don't, preferring to avoid the negative publicity. That's part of Antifa's appeal and strength. It's hard to pin down. There is no identifiable leader.
Exactly. And there's no members either. Now the reason that is because if the reason they're not a an official membership, it's like if Antifa HQ got raided by some I don't know, Nazi organization or the government itself, then its membership or the people who are anti-fascists won't just get found out. Like there'll be a list of names somewhere, and they'll just fucking find them. So the whole idea was, no, we don't fucking have that kind of setup, so this doesn't happen. Um, and that's it. So yeah, it is hard to pin down, but the point was, it's hard to pin down for fascists. You know, I know many people who will happily tell you that they've been with Antifa. I've been with Antifa like, loads of times. So it's just not what they're desperately trying to make it out to be. Honestly, just go to a protest, some lefty protest like that, something to do with universal credit in the UK, or some Black Lives Matter protest in the USA, all in the UK. They're happening as well, and you'll probably see someone with the Antifa badge or with the Antifa flag. Chat to them. They're fine. They're decent. They're perfectly decent people. Just don't go in there with a fucking Infowars mic, because then they'll be like, well, this guy's not here for a genuine conversation. I'm just gonna move on. And anyway, I'm waffling here.
To be part of Antifa, you must adopt two basic principles.
Says fucking who? Says who? There's no official membership. There's no leader who looks at you and says, well, do you have these principles? Now, there's no entrance exam. Uh, let's have a look at what he thinks you need to be an Antifa, to be part of Antifa.
First, you have to have the mentality of an anti-fascist.
You have to have the mentality of an anti-fascist. Well, yeah, that kind of goes without saying, doesn't it? Like, you need to be somewhat anti-fascist to be part of anti-fascist action. Yeah. It's like saying, well, the Conservative Party have a couple of principles to join the Conservatives. First, you need to have the mentality of a Conservative. Yeah, fucking obviously. Like, what? Why is this one of their fucking principles that they're telling us about? Come on, dude.
And second, you must be willing to enforce that mentality.
Again, this is the same of all fucking organizations. All kind of political movements ever must be willing to enforce their values in some form. Otherwise, they're just sort of talking to you. Like, otherwise, you're just going up to a fucking Proud Boys rally or an EDL rally and saying, "Please, can you stop doing that? Please, can you not be fascist? Please, can you not attempt to take over the government and do whatever you will with your ethno-nationalist tendencies?" What? Like, you can say this exactly about the Conservative Party. You must be willing to enforce the mentality of a Conservative, which is to be, pro-capitalist for one, to be in favour of criminalising drugs, in favour of carrying on taxation, in favour of all these different kinds of things that the Conservatives do. You must be willing to be part of the process which enforces your Conservative mentality. Why is he pinning this kind of thing on Antifa as if this is exclusive to them? It's not. It's perfectly normal. I don't understand it. This goes without saying. I've spent too long on this point. So
mentality. To adopt an anti-fascist mentality means to reject everything that is fascism. But
yes,
that begs the question, what is fascism?
um, before this idiot gives his idea of what he thinks fascism is, which is probably just presented to him by Dennis Prager himself. Like Dennis Prager probably just unbuttoned his trousers and said, "This is what fascism is." Maybe I don't know. God knows what happens behind closed doors of Prague University. But yeah, fascism to me is the hyper-authoritarian attempt to defend cultural and traditional values. That's all it is. Conservatism is generally the defense of those things, but fascism is the hyper-authoritarian attempt to do so. When I say hyper-authoritarian, I mean you're literally willing to just cast out democracy, liberal democracy, in order to do so. That's what makes you hyper-authoritarian or totalitarian, I suppose. Like you're willing to control the media, you're willing to control all kinds of institutions to try and reinforce and defend these cultural values from some opposing force, whether it be the left, whether it be Islam, whether it be X, Y, and Z. That's all it is. It's just the hyper authoritarian attempt to defend national values. That's all it is. All it is.
While most Americans associate fascism with Nazi Germany,
Yeah, which is they were also, in some degree, a hyper authoritarian attempt to defend the German identity. Yeah, I'd happy. Yeah, Nazi Germany were fascists. Well done, me.
or modern dictatorial states like Venezuela, China, and North Korea,
Are they fascist? Well, no, because they're not. They're not quite. Although they're hyper authoritarian, not Venezuela, but although China and North Korea are hyper authoritarian, and they do have some kind of nationalistic tendencies, especially with North Korea and Juche, um, they're not doing so in order to defend any kind of cultural value. They're not defending. They're not preserving culture. They're trying to move from one stage to the next, which is why they don't really fall into the definition of fascism for me. They're obviously communist states. Now, I know before a load of communists come in and say, well, actually, communism is a stateless society. You know what I fucking mean. Come on, you know what I mean.
to Antifa, fascism means Judeo-Christian values and capitalism.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. I mean, Christian values is just that. It's Christianity. It's Judaism and Christianity. It's not fascism. There's plenty of left-wing left-wing fascists, plenty of left-wing Christians, plenty of left-wing Jews, and I mean religious Jews as well. Like there's loads of them. Capitalism, no, capitalism isn't fascism, um, because capitalism is very much it's very much compatible with liberal democracy. There are odds on some occasions, but liberal democracy depends on capitalism, and capitalism depends on liberal democracy. So how can I? No, I wouldn't be defining capitalism as a hyper-authoritarian attempt to defend cultural values, because you can also have fascist states without capitalism. By the way, like you can have hyper-authoritarianism in response to capitalism. I'd argue that Japanese fascism, in some way, was a response to the expansion of American/British influence, and along with that influence came capitalism. Now, the Japanese military and big figures within it were worried that this kind of Americanism or this Anglo-Americanism and its capitalism will just end up making Japan yet another puppet state of America and Great Britain. So they radically opposed this and became the fascist. Not that it's not really a fascist state. Well, it was a military dictatorship, wasn't it? Which I would still identify as fascism. I don't think they called themselves fascists, but they were fascists by any decent definition. They were fascists, but that was in response to capitalism, I'd say. So yeah, I don't think any Antifa guy believes Judeo-Christian values and capitalism is fascism for the reasons I've just given, as someone who would happily join a fucking antifa rally. So nah.
As an Antifa group said on its Twitter account in 2018, the fight against fascism is only won when the capitalist system is smashed.
I disagree with that actually. But if we have a look at that again.
The fight against fascism is only won when the capitalist system is smashed.
So I think in the UK and America, maybe they have a point. Maybe. As in, they'll be making the argument that fascism would be the attempt to defend capitalism. So once you get rid of capitalism, then fascism's got nothing to defend. Now that might work. I'm not convinced though. So I still disagree with that statement, but it makes a lot more sense than this guy is making out to be.
And they mean smashed.
Smashed.
Breaking windows, tearing down statues, throwing...
No, this is not what smashing capitalism means. Breaking windows isn't going to end capitalism. Like, bringing down statues isn't going to fucking end capitalism. Like, oh no! What if they brought down the statue of Jeff Bezos? What would happen to Amazon? They become a workers' cooperative? If only it worked that way.
Molotov cocktails, looting and burning businesses, and harassing and physically assaulting people.
Harassing and physically assaulting people. If by people you mean fascists, it's not too bad. But yeah, it's just this is just propaganda. Like, what else do you say other than what? As if the Antifa fucking Twitter page is gonna post pictures of themselves looting a mom and pop store. Really? But this is not what anyone means by smashing capitalism. Smashing capitalism literally just means abolishing private property. That's all it is. Abolishing private, and you don't need to smash it up to abolish private property. You're just transferring ownership from the capitalist, the private owner, to either the employees of that company or to the state. Given that that state is a quote-unquote worker state, which I think is an oxymoron, but we can go into that in a different video.
We saw it all in the summer of 2020 in Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, and other cities.
Wait, what? This is Black Lives Matter. Like, I know Antifa were involved there, but if you're gonna fucking talk about the BLM riots, like, what was it? 93% of them were peaceful. 93% of BLM protests were peaceful protests. The remaining 7%, not all of those were instigated by BLM/Antifa activists. Like, it would have been instigated by either far right actors or the police. I don't know how much of that 7%, but not even 7% of those BLM protests which turned violent were caused by BLM protesters or their allies. So again, it's just fear-mongering.
Antifa is not solely responsible for all left-wing political violence. Not every attack by left-wing radicals is an Antifa attack. But Antifa exemplifies the worst of this dangerous ideology, which is becoming bolder and more prevalent in American society. Joining Antifa was the worst decision of my life. How did I get out of it?
By not going to any more protests. That's how you get out of it.
Like anyone who gets out of something bad, I encountered something good.
I wonder what he's going to say. Did he become Christian? Did he buy shares in a business? Did Dennis Prager suck him off? I don't know.
Good. The very system that I had sought to destroy, friends, people who turned out to be my real friends, pointed me to challenging thinkers like Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, and Ben Shapiro.
Hang on. Wait. I'm laughing at a couple of those, but hang on. Let's go back a little bit.
The very system that I had sought to destroy,
back again.
Of my life. How did I get out of it? Like anyone who gets out of something bad, I encountered something good. The very system that I had sought to destroy, friends, people who turned out to be my real friends.
Wait, the very system Antifa sought to destroy equals friends. What? What? Can you imagine now that some antifa protester is there and he looks at you and he says, "Are you a fascist?" No. Well, I sure did fucking see you with a friend over there having a coffee together. Oh, fucking got you, you fascist. You fascist scum and your fucking friends. Fucking got you. This is just fucking. This is unbelievable. I had friends! And this is why I'm no longer part of Antifa. Like, what? Anyway.
Pointed me to challenging thinkers like Milton Friedman, Thomas Sowell, and Ben Shapiro.
So, one was. I've not actually read much Milton Friedman, but so I don't know a lot about his work. Thomas Sowell, again, not read a lot from him, so I might need to do some more research on that. Ben Shapiro, though, I've heard a lot about him. Now, nowadays, if anyone was to point me to Ben Shapiro, it'll go straight to the fucking BBC interview with Andrew Neil. That's where a lot of most British, let's say, laymen were introduced to Ben Shapiro, and trust me, Jesus Christ, were we not impressed? We were just sort of sat back, rolling our eyes, thinking, "Yeah, this is where America's at." Like, their journalism has turned into such a consumerist kind of what was it, like almost like a circus, where it's done for entertainment only and not really for any kind of formal learning. I'm screwing this up, but yeah. What has American political discourse become? It's become what I'm doing right now, which is just fucking poning whoever I'm looking at. And yeah, American culture infests British politics as well. But what can he do? What can he do? But I've seen a few Ben Shapiro videos, and I'm not impressed, to be honest. I'll probably do a bit more on Ben Shapiro because he's such a influential figure amongst conservatives. But he's quite easy to debunk when you've got the internet in front of you whilst you're doing it. Maybe not so much when you're stood in front of him, but nah, it's easy.
And eventually, organizations like the Leadership Institute and Prager U.
Who the fuck is pointing you to Prager U? Like, really? Who? Imagine, how invested in like left-wing politics must you be to be converted by Prager U and Ben Shapiro? Honestly now, like, you couldn't be that much, because Prager U only give caricatures of the left. They don't address any left-wing arguments. They just address what they think the left, or what they want you to believe the left believes, and what they want you to how you want you to perceive. I'm fucking this up again. How they want you to perceive the left. That's the image of the left that they present to you. You will never see a sincere characterization from these guys, even from like previous Antifa members, quote unquote.
What they said just made sense.
Okay.
And offered me a better way to live.
Do what your boss says.
Antifa and the radical left did not care about building a better society. They cared about control.
Yeah, like, you need control to build a better society, don't you? But the question is, who should be in control? I say the workers. You say, well, I think we all know what you're going to say.
They could only offer me more anger, bitterness, and unhappiness. I always expected to keep my past a secret. But as I saw cities around the country struggling against the rise of left-wing political violence, while left-wing and even liberal politicians said nothing, I knew I had to speak up. If people like me, who know what is really behind Antifa, don't, the left will obliterate what it means to be a free American. So here I am. And here's my message. Young people don't drift to the left because they believe the left is
Young people don't drift to the left because they believe the left is superior. No, I drifted to the left because I believed the they were right. As in, I thought their arguments were actually correct. They were in line with the data. They were in line with scientific consensus. They were more in line with uh, what's really going on in terms of how capitalism works. Um, and my old libertarian arguments were just sort of debunked. And when I say libertarian, I'm referring to the right-wing version. I'm referring obviously to laissez-faire capitalism, which is a nonsense position. Like it was a few years ago when I was back in that kind of mindset. But I've been a left libertarian, I'd say, for quite a long time, like 2 years, which is a long time if you're my age. But 3 years actually, Jesus Christ, yeah, 3 years. Oof, time flies when you're having fun. Anyway, what does he think? How does he think I transitioned to the left? Let's have a look.
Superior, most do because they have never been exposed to anything else.
That's incorrect. Well, I don't know about that, but that is incorrect for me anyway, because I was very much exposed to libertarianism. Did I read much Milton Friedman? No, but I was exposed to the arguments that libertarians often made, and they were often coming from Milton Friedman. Like, but now I just respond to libertarians, and if they are influenced by people like Milton Friedman and Thomas Sowell and Ben Shapiro, then I don't think those thinkers have anything good to say, personally. But, you know, okay.
Leftism has become what Andrew Breitbart once
Fucking Andrew Breitbart, okay.
described as the default position.
No, I think the default position in the UK, not about the US, but the UK is utilitarianism. Now, I've got some criticisms of utilitarianism, but utilitarianism is basically just the idea that the collective happiness is more important than the minority's happiness, sort of thing. So it's like that, the trolley problem, where you've got the trolley going down a track, and it's about to kill this one guy tied to the track. No, it's about to kill 4 people tied to the track, and you have the option to pull a lever, which then switches the trolley's direction towards just one person tied to the track. So if you don't act, it kills 4 people. If you do act, it kills only one person. Utilitarianism would say it's better to pull the lever and kill the one person because your actions are measured according to the principle of utility, which is an action is judged according to the most good or most happiness it brings to the most people. Now, I would also pull the lever, but not for the reasons utilitarianism gives. But that's, again, it's for another video, I think.
The American idea is more powerful than you think. It turned me around. It can turn others around too.
Wait, what? The American idea? Liberal capitalism was a British idea, actually. It came from Britain. That's why America has it now. Like, America is literally just the implementation of British liberalism. Come on, dude.
The core of that idea, call it the American dream, is not about money. It's about...
Just before we go into that, I remember the Al Murray video where it's like, the American dream, the American dream. In Britain, we don't have a British dream. Now, it's not because we don't lack a moral compass or some kind of kind of happy way of living. It's because we're awake. I quite like that comment. I quite like it.
About freedom. That, ultimately, is the reason Antifa has to resort to violence. Because...
What? Wait, I blanked out there. What?
Idea, call it the American dream, is not about money. It's about freedom.
I am all about freedom too, but sometimes you got to fight for freedom. Wait, hang on a minute. The fucking American Revolution, which is the implementation of the American dream, or the achievement of such, that was caused or brought about through violence, through the American fucking Revolution. What? Oh, God. Okay.
Ultimately, is the reason Antifa has to resort to...
You could literally apply every single argument this guy's made against the early revolutionaries of the United States. in the 13 colonies, and they'll be just as nonsensical as they are now.
Violence. Because if conservatives are allowed to speak freely, they will peacefully convert more and more of Antifa supporters.
Oh god. Oh no. If conservatives are allowed to speak freely, we'll just get a lot more laughs, like I just burst out then. Um, I hope more conservatives are converted just so we can laugh at them. But sadly, well, happily, that's not the case, I suppose, in the long term. No, conservatives are really losing the argument in terms of, um, trying to win people over to their cause. The reason they're losing this argument is because rather than offering any solution to any problem that's ever happened, they just sort of deny it. They deny it exists. So when you get liberal and more left-leaning organisations coming across saying, "Hey, we can reform this, and we can change this and make this better for you," then obviously people who are experiencing the shit end of capitalism and institutional racism and institutional misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, all the rest of it, obviously they are going to go in the direction of people who are acknowledging their problems and offering solutions, than the group of people who are just denying those problems even exist. So, no, like, this guy lives in a this guy is deluded. Bring him on to Dr. Phil.
Towards the values of liberty, and then Antifa will vanish like the nightmare it is. I'm Gabriel Nadales, the student rights advocate for the Leadership Institute and author of Behind the Black Mask, My Time as an Antifa Activist for Prager University.
And a fucking idiot. Anyways, that's all for tonight. I'll hopefully see you later.